Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you all are doing good. So today in this video, I'll walk you through a step-by-step process to understand how to set up a webinar or a meeting in Zoom, how to configure or format the webinar sign-up process, the email notifications, the email formattings, and then we'll move on to explore all the important features in Zoom. So the live chat option that will allow you to interact with your audience via a text message or a voice chat, the live poll option that would help you get some feedback or some response from your audience, the annotation function that would actually help you to scribble something or to highlight something, to write something on your screen while you are delivering the webinar. And then we'll move on to understand how we can broadcast our webinar to different channels that you're having. So you can live stream a webinar on YouTube, on Facebook Workplace, on our Facebook groups or Facebook pages. So we'll have a look at how we can broadcast our webinar for a wider audience reach. So yeah, that's all we're going to cover in this video. Now this video might get a little long as I'll be explaining it in a step-by-step format. I'll walk you through all the features of this Zoom platform over here. So I'll add timestamps in the video description so that you can simply skip to whatever topic you are looking to know. So follow the video description, skip to the topic you are looking to know in case you are looking for any particular information on Zoom. And I'll be using the enterprise version for this particular demonstration. So I'll show you all the features and functions. So I'm using the enterprise version so that I can get you the full-blown features of Zoom. And in case you are using any other plan, no worries, the interface is same, only few functionalities will be here and there. That's all you're going to face. And yeah, after this video, if you have any doubts, any questions, feel free to drop in the comment section. I'd be happy to help. And now I'll just switch off this particular video of mine and take you directly to the screen, and let us get started with Zoom webinars. So the first step would be to log into your Zoom account. So right now I'm already logged into my account. So I'll simply click on my account over here in the top right corner, and you can head over to webinars or meetings. So if it's an internal meeting that you're hosting, then in that case you can simply set up a meeting. And in case you are creating a webinar where you are broadcasting it to a large set of audience, in that case you need to go for webinars. So simply get into webinars and then schedule a webinar. In that case, so in my case, I'll be simply putting up a demo webinar over here. So demo session. So I'll just put a description over here. So you can just randomly put a description. So in case you have a set format for this description and this title, you can save the format of your first webinar as a template, and you can reuse that particular setup in all your upcoming webinars. So in that way, you don't have to create customized webinars every time you try to set up or schedule a new webinar. So if you've already observed, the first section over here is all about the webinar topic, the webinar description, and selecting a template. So this is very critical because whenever you set up these webinars and you send or add panelists or host or moderators in this particular webinar, all those speakers will be getting an email, and that email would contain this particular description and this particular topic. So this description and topic is primarily your email body. So make sure that you mention it or you write it in an email format. So whatever you write in over here in this description section would be sent to the speakers or panelists that you add in the form of an email. And in the template section, you can select a template. So template is primarily, once you set up a particular webinar, you can save it as a template. So for all your future webinars, you can use this template. So once you select the template, it will just take up the topic and description of the template that is there. So in case you're using a recurring webinar, you can save it as a template, and for all your upcoming webinars, you can use a template instead of customizing or setting up all the fields over here individually. In the next section, you'll have to choose the time, date, the duration, and the time zone. So simply you can select whatever time is there, so as per your webinar timing. And then in case it's a regular session kind of thing, so for example, it can be a class or it can be a online lecture or an online program that happens every week. So in that case, you can just simply select a recurring webinar, and you don't have to create the webinar multiple times as and when you go ahead. Also registration. So if you click on this required, all the participants will have to put in their name, email address in order to get into this webinar. For now, I'll just skip it. And if you move on, you'll have the option to record the webinar automatically. In that case, the webinar will be recorded as and when you broadcast it. That is, you start the webinar, it will start recording it, and it can be either saved on your local computer or in the cloud. In the cloud is safer option. You can download it at a later time from the Zoom's cloud. Enable practice session. In that case, before you start the webinar, you'll have a certain amount of time where you can just simply check if your audio, video, and all the panelists are working fine, all attendees are there. So you can just simply have a check of the whole setup before you broadcast it. So if this practice session is enabled, whenever you start the webinar, it won't get live to the whole world. So the public or it won't be public to all the attendees. It will just be shown to all the panelists or all the host moderators. So every people who are added as a speaker in this particular webinar. So this is primarily the practice session would just be for the host and panelists, that is the speakers, and it won't be shown to the attendees. So once you click on the broadcast button over here, so if the practice session is enabled, you will get to see how this functions. So it will just give you a buffer time before you broadcast it to the whole world, so you can check the whole setup. So I'll just move on to the next section over here, alternate host. So right now, as I'm logged into this account, I'm the host of this webinar. In case you want multiple people to host or control this webinar, you can add up their email address. I'll schedule it. So right now, if you go back to your webinars section, you'll find that this webinar over here is set. Now this is a webinar ID using which other people can join your webinar, and you can start it from here. But before that, let me just show you one more walkthrough of how this webinar setting looks like from the backend. So if you look from the backend, you have the topic, description, title, all the details are over there. Now what is important is you can save this webinar as a template in case you want this particular settings to be used in future. Also, the other important thing is get into this invitations section over here and click on edit and just try to add all the people who are speaker in this particular webinar. In case you are the only speaker, you don't have to add anyone here. So this is primarily for all those people who are speakers in your webinar. So in case you have multiple speakers, it's more like a conference. In that case, you need to click on edit and add all the people over here. You can add multiple panelists. For now, I'll just click on cancel. And the second concern will be to get into the email settings section and just have a look at what are those email IDs using which they will be getting the email. So you can simply change the name and the email address from which all your panelists or all your attendees would get the email. So it's very important that you select or you edit this particular email, and you can similarly have a check of all these options over here. These are primarily email settings, that is the format of the email, the name and signature of the email that your attendees and speakers would get. Under branding, you'll have the option to add up the logo, the banner that will show up in the email section over here. And so once you add a banner over here, this banner would show up in the email that would be sent to all the attendees once they sign up for this webinar. Under polls, you can add multiple polls. So for example, I want to ask a question over here. So this is my PO poll 1 at 25 minutes of the webinar. Then in that case, what I can do is I can just add up the question over here. So you can simply put up multiple choice questions over here for the poll so that you can get to know and you can get to know the overview of your audience. Simply, it's a single choice, yes or no, and then save. So you can use multiple, you can add up multiple polls over here. So simply click on this add button over here and you can add multiple polls. So if you look at how this poll looks like, so this is the question and these are the options. I'll show you in a while how this polls looks like during the session. So under this Q&A section, you can simply control how the question and answer section looks like. Under integration, you can simply add it to other platforms you might be having. For example, you might want to live stream this webinar on your website or on some third-party portal. So in that case, this would help you out. Again, live streaming. So in case of live streaming, you can directly live stream it in Facebook's Workplace, Facebook live stream in your Facebook page live, in your YouTube live. You can live stream it throughout the webinar. So let us get started with how this webinar functions. So simply get into this webinar tab again, and once you're ready to start the
webinar, simply click on this start button over here. So once you click on start, you'll have two options. Either you can run the webinar from your browser. In that case, the performance of your webinar would depend a lot on the internet connectivity that you having. In case you want to have a more stable and reliable connection, in that case you can simply download the Zoom app and you can open it up in the Zoom app. In my case, I already have the Zoom application and I'm opening up the webinar in my Zoom application. So you can see that over here the Zoom application has just started connecting and it will just start in a while. So right now this is how it looks like. So it is in the practice session. So remember, while setting up the webinar, we have chosen the practice mode only option. So in this particular case, only me, I can only see my portal over here. So it's not yet broadcasted to the public. So the attendees won't be able to see my screen yet. At this moment, I can simply check my webcam, my audio, so I can have a quick setup or check of all the options in my. So all the people who are moderators or speakers or panelists per se, or who are hosts in this particular webinar, would be listed over here, and all the attendees, that is all the people who are attending this webinar, would be listed over here. So you can control how attendees and panelists controls your webinar. So you can simply you can move some attendee to panelist if you want. You simply have to right click on the name and then move it to panelist. You can rename the attendees, you can mute, unmute, you can remove the attendees. So you have the full control of how this panelist or attendees access or control your webinar. Next would be the question and answer section. Now you might get a lot of spam comments, a lot of useless questions. You might get a lot of troll questions on this particular section. So what you need to do is keep a check of this section, and time to time keep removing all those spammy individuals who are putting up annoying questions or who are putting up inappropriate questions. Next would be the polls section over here. So remember, we have set one poll over here. So you can simply launch the poll and it will show up to all the attendees, and you can also get the option to close the poll, show up the result to the attendees and all. So it's a simple step-by-step process you'll get to see once you broadcast it. Next would be the chat option over here. So all the attendees would be able to chat with the panelists, that is the host, moderators, the speakers, and also you can choose whom you want to chat with. So you can also have an individual chat. So as a host, you can send messages to individual people instead of sending it to all the panelists or all the attendees. Next, we have the option to record it. So you can record it in your computer or in the cloud, and then we have the option to go live. So right now, our video, audio, everything is checked. What you can do is start the webinar. So for that, we can broadcast it. But before that, let us quickly check how the screen share functions. So I'll simply share one of the screen over here. I'm sharing this particular screen, and you will be able to see over here from the back end, it is now broadcast. The screen is now shared, and I'm not yet broadcasting. That is the audience won't be able to see my screen yet. So audio, video participants, I can check all the participants who have joined in the webinar, and then I can start broadcasting it. So once I start broadcasting it, it will show that the webinar is now broadcasting to all attendees. So that means this webinar is now been shown to all the people. And now if I want to pause sharing my screen, I can simply click on Alt-T or click this particular icon over here. And if I want to change the screen over here, I can simply click on new share, and I can change whatever I'm sharing. And in case I want to stop the sharing, I can simply click on the stop share. If I stop the screen sharing option, in that case, all the panelists or all the host images would be coming up in the whole screen over here. And I can also use the annotate function over here. This is an amazing feature from Zoom. So in case I'm teaching something, I can use this particular tool over here to make it more interactive, to make it more visual whenever I'm explaining something. So you can use this particular tool over here. You can explore this annotation option over here. Great. Now let us see how it can simultaneously control the chat option over here. Now, along with this webinar, a lot of attendees would like to chat with you. They'll put up some questions in the chat box. So you can simply click on this chat button over here, and the chat panel would open up or float up in this particular section. So you can place it anywhere in your screen, wherever you feel comfortable like, and you can simply chat with your attendees. That's it. It's that simple. Now in case you want to stop the recording, you can simply click on here. And how do you know that your session has been recorded? So here you'll find that there is a small red dotted button over here, and this button gives you an assurance that your session is been recorded. And now let us keep on exploring the other options. So right now we have already explored how to set up and broadcast our webinar on Zoom. Now let us see how to go live simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook. So this webinar is now live to all attendees. So all the people who have joined in through the Zoom link, through this webinar link, they are able to see this particular webinar right now. But I might also want this webinar to go live on Facebook so that I can reach more potential audience. So in that case, I can simply click on live on Facebook. It would simply open up my Facebook page over here, and I'll be asked to select the right Facebook page. So here I can simply get into, I want to share it over a page, and I'll get the list of all the pages over here. You can simply select the desired page. Right now I'm going with this particular page of mine. I'll simply select next. As you click on next, it will prompt the Facebook live library. So Zoom is now connecting to your Facebook page, and it will go live in a minute. So right now this is how it looks like. So I'll just minimize this chat panel over here. So and you can simply put a caption over here so that the users can get to know what this webinar or what this live stream is all about. And you can get into the settings section over here, and also choose if you want to cross post it in some other pages of yours. And under the interactive section, you can add the polls. So remember, we added certain polls in our webinar, in our Zoom webinar setting. So that polls, so all these polls, if you launch the poll from here, this poll would show up to all the attendees in your Zoom webinar, not in the Facebook live stream. Right now we are in the Facebook live stream section. So here we need to add the polls again. So simply save it over here, and you'll have this webinar question over here. Let us add one more question. So right now we are in the Facebook live stream settings dashboard. So from here you can just set up all your settings. So whatever resolution you want, whatever pages you want, whatever the description of the post shall be. So the caption and all your check-ins, all other, as usual, the Facebook post hygiene. So you can add up all those information and then go live. And right now you can see that it's about to go live on Facebook. And as soon as Facebook live starts, you'll find that there is one new button over here that is appearing. It says it's now live. So this is in this particular page. Let us get back to this particular page and see how the live appears in our Facebook page. So if you look at the left hand side menu over here, you'll find videos, and if you click on videos, you'll have the live streaming that is going on right now. So scroll down, and this is the live streaming that is just going on right now. So simply click on this live streaming again, and once you click on, you'll again land up on the dashboard or the back end of this live stream. Now in this section, in case you want to launch the poll, so simply get, so if you look at the left hand side into this, select edit video, and just take care of the fact that the video is now on live stream. And in case you want to share this particular live streaming, so in case you want your audience to know where you are actually streaming it live, you can scroll down and you'll find that you have the option to grab the link to the live video. So you can simply copy it and you can have a look at how this link looks like in an incognito window. So yeah, this is how this live streaming looks like. So you can simply get into an incognito mode and just have a look at how this looks like to an audience. So right now you're watching as an admin. So here I can see how the audience would look like, how my video would look like to the audience. Now again, scroll up and you'll find several other options over here. From here you can check how the streaming is like, so over the period of time how the streaming stability or the streaming quality has been like, the video clippings you can get from here, and also over here you'll get the polls option. So remember earlier we had added this particular polls. In case during the live streaming you want to add some new poll, you can simply type in the poll over here and you can add, and in case you want to add from the polls that you have added earlier, simply click on this click on the desired poll. So right now I want to launch this particular poll, how is the webinar. I'll simply click on this, and from here you can see that, okay, so for this particular poll this is the question, so how do I publish it? Simply click on publish button over here and this poll will appear somewhere here in the live stream. So right now you can see that this poll is live. So if you just open up the incognito window and watch it as a audience, you'll be able to see this question appearing above your video on the Facebook page. And in the backend, as an admin, you can see how many of them are polling, responding to your poll. So you'll have the metrics over here. And once you think that, okay, this is enough and you want to close up the poll, so you can simply select show results, and the results would appear somewhere here. Okay, so the results are showing over here. You can see the results. So this is the question actually. It's a bit delayed stream, so you'll get the result over here and then you can close the result. That's it. If you want to reopen it, you can reopen. If you want to go for some second question, some other question, then you can simply select on this question over here and publish poll. So the poll has been started, it is showing up to the audience, they'll respond to it. Show results, so the result will be displayed to the audience, and then close results. That's simple. So simple step-by-step process. In case you want to add some questions for your audience, you can simply click here and add up the question in real time, and this question would appear up above your video in the live stream. So this is an option where you can simply try to get feedback or try to get to know something from your audience. And then you have the help option over here, which will take you to the support page of Facebook, which is not very helpful, but again this is there for some people who might face certain issues during the live stream. Now let us get back to our Zoom webinar over here. So, and now if we get back to our Zoom dashboard over here, simply scroll down to your Zoom application over here on the desktop and click on meeting controls, and you'll end up on this particular dashboard where from you can control your webinar. So you can just pause the sharing of your screen, you can change the screen that you are sharing. So right now this particular screen has been shared. If you want, you can simply click on new share and change whatever you are sharing. And one particular thing that we missed in a few minutes back is how to run the polls on our webinar. So in case you want to run some polls, make sure that you add up the polls before you start the webinar. In case of Facebook live stream, you can add up the polls in real time and launch it, but in case of Zoom live webinars, you cannot add the polls in real time. You can edit it though, so it's important that you keep the list of all the polls over here and simply launch the poll. In case you want to add up new polls during the webinar, you need to get into your dashboard over here, Zoom dashboard, and you need to add it over polls section. So it will be very cumbersome for you to add up in real time. So make sure that you are having the polls before you start the webinar. So right now I already have the poll question ready. I'll simply launch the poll, and this poll would show up to the audience something like this. The audience would respond to the poll, and once they respond, you'll get the metrics over here. You can end the poll, and once you end the poll, you'll have the option to share the results. So once you share the result, it will be shown up to all the attendees, the disclosure of the poll result, and then you can stop sharing the result. So this appears as a pop-up in the live webinar to all the attendees. So primarily we start with the webinar settings. So just a quick recap of whatever we have covered so far. we land up on our Zoom dashboard under the webinar section or the meetings section. We create a meeting. Once we create the meeting, or once we create the webinar setup, we start the webinar from this particular section over here. Once we start it, we land up on the settings dashboard over here. From here you can simply check our audio, video, and we can check what all who all have joined the webinar. We can also check the question and answer panel over here, where we can get all the questions that are appearing from the attendees. We can also get the poll section over here, from where you can launch some polls and keep the audience engaged, get a feedback or response from the audience. And then we have an option to share the screen, so we can select what all we want to share or show up to our audience in this live webinar. And we have the option to pause the share. If we pause the share, in that case the screen sharing is paused. So in this case, your logo, your Zoom webinar account logo would be shown up, or your face. If your video is on, then in that case your visual would be shown up to the audience in the full screen mode. And once you resume the share, again your this particular slide that I'm sharing right now has been shown up to the audience. And webinars are mostly a dialogic, where the speaker speaks, the speaker explains something, the speaker tries to illustrate something to the audience, and the audience in response comes up with counter questions. So annotate option over here plays a very important and interesting role over here. So you can use this particular option here over here to explain it better. So for example, right now I'm trying to explain it to you, the child theme option over here. So I can simply mark it. I can also clear all the drawing. So from here I can format it as and when I come across certain things that shall be highlighted. So you can use this, you can just practice this annotate option over here, and this can be a very interesting feature to keep your audience more engaged with your content. Next, you can get into the more section over here. This three triple button over here, click on this and you can open up the chat button. From here you can directly push up certain links or messages to all the attendees over here. You can select whom do you want to send this chat, and then you have the option to pause the recording, to stop the recording, the session recording per se. You have the option to hide all these menu buttons over here. You have the option to go live on Facebook or YouTube. You can do a live streaming of your webinars. You can also keep on checking all the settings of your webinar, and you can end the webinar. So that's it from how to use Zoom. In case you have any questions, any doubts, you can get in touch. So in this video I have discussed two crucial things. One is how to set up a webinar in Zoom and how to launch and start this webinar. And next, one critical thing, how do we go live on Facebook? How do we make our webinars, Zoom webinars, go live stream on Facebook, and also add poll in our Facebook and Zoom webinars. So that's it from this video. I'll just end this meeting and also this video. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, any doubts, feel free to drop in the comment section. Bye-bye. Wait. Before you leave, let me just quickly show you certain things that you need to do after the webinar. So once you're done with the webinar, simply head over to recording section over here. Now under this section, you'll have the recordings of all the sessions. Now you have to know that you cannot access the recording instantly after the webinar. You need to wait for around 12 to 24 hours for the recording to be ready for you. You can simply download the recording from this section over here, and or you can directly share it with your people. So you can directly share the link from here, or you can simply download it, edit it, and then publish it to other channels. And in Facebook, after you have completed the webinar, after you have ended the meeting or webinar on Zoom, the live streaming would automatically stop on Facebook, and the video would be saved somewhere over here. If you get into your Facebook page and hover to the video section, you'll find all the videos that were live streamed are getting accumulated over here. So now all these videos can help you to get more views in future, because there will be some audience who have missed your a webinar or live stream and they would like to view that particular webinar, so they can access these videos. And one more interesting feature over here is you can manage, or you can create playlist of all these videos as per the theme, or as per the topic, or as per the event. So you can create playlist, you can arrange your videos. It's similar to YouTube videos. You can arrange it and create a video gallery so that it engages, or it kind of makes a better experience for your users to find the right video that they're looking to watch. So that's all you need to do after the webinar is done. Now, one more critical thing that you need to keep in mind is the account management. So in case you want to customize the emails that are been dropped to your attendees. So in that case, you can simply hover into this webinar settings over here and land up on this particular section where you can individually edit the email format that is been sent. So in case you want to edit the email that goes to attendees, so this is the email template for invite attendees. So all the attendees, that is all the people who are registering for your webinar, they would be getting this particular email. So in case you want to edit this particular email format, so maybe you want to write over here, you want to add more cordiality and you want to add, hey dear, and then you want to add their name. So what you can do is, so in this particular case, in case of he there, it will be more cordial and it will be their name. So the name of the person would be added over here. So whenever someone registers for your webinar, they will be registering with their name, so their name would come up over here. So if your name is ABC, so it will be dear ABC, and then the email flows. Now in case you want to customize this particular section, so maybe you want a particular salutation over here, so maybe you can just simply add over here. So this addition, either you can directly add simple plain text, or you can add your HTML coded text. If you're adding simple plain text like this, their name, you're invited to this, in that case the formatting would be the default format of Zoom. In case you want to customize the text format, then in that case you need to use HTML. So for example, if you want a break over here, so maybe you want this to be in italic, so I can simply add the HTML code for italics. That is the HTML code for italics. I can simply add this particular code over here, and this line would get italic in the email format, the final version. So this is the back end of the email, so you can simply customize or edit how that email would look like to the audience. That's it. Save it, and the audience the email format would be saved. So literally from this webinar settings, you can customize all the email formats that would go up to all the different types of people. So there can be attendees, there can be panelists, there can be speakers or moderators, whoever is controlling your webinar. So all the people will get different formats of email. So and you shall actually play around with this email formats. The email format shall be very cordial and very personal, so that it does not look like that it's a system sent mass email that has been sent to them. That's it from this particular section. Now there are so many more options over there. You need to play around with these options. So I've just discussed all those critical pointers that you need to keep in mind while creating some webinars or meetings on Zoom. In case you have any doubts, any particular queries, you can put up in the comment section. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.